Did you have any misgivings about the idea of coming back in a different role so soon?
Yes, slight misgivings, undoubtedly. I mean, partly again because I'd been a fellow teacher with a large number of the teachers, and I was then going to be headmaster, and therefore quite difficult to keep one's distance from people one had known very well and things, which obviously to some extent one has to do as a headmaster. So yes, indeed, and there were all sorts of things that terrified me. I mean, the idea of chanting Pater Noster Quaes in Celis when I can't really sing in front of the whole school was slightly nerve-wracking. Giving sermons and things, and I think the commemoration sermons must have been the most nerve-wracking thing, but I remember one that there were masses of complaints because it was soon after 9/11, and but I just felt very strongly then that really we hadn't reacted as countries as to why this had happened, and so I said that if I had been a young boy, or perhaps Bangladeshi, Pakistani origin, living in Peckham in those days, that I would have had a picture of Osama bin Laden on the wall. There were interesting reactions, but at least one of the senior canons said that thank God for a sermon which actually makes you think. So they were interesting times, giving things like sermons and things in the Abbey. But, I mean, again, I think I had to be marginally tough in the beginning because I think to some extent things have been let slide. But I do think it's in order, as I say, to have a happy place, you have to have a system of rules in place. And I just feel so strongly that you can never, for example, have no bullying in a school, but you wanted to just try and reduce the amount of bullying however much you can, so that basically all pupils have a happy time. And at Westminster it's quite tough because they're all bright at Westminster, but inevitably if you're all bright you're still going to have ones at the bottom of the pack, and you've got to make sure that they have a good time as well and that they feel excited and they don't feel that it's all too academic for them. And I try to work hard on that. And the other big thing I was very determined as a headmaster and did as Emmanuel was that sometimes headmasters just sit in their studies and never appear. That you have to be out and about talking to the pupils. But even more important, almost, is talking to the work staff, talking to the people in the school store, talking to the people who run College Hall and things. And I think that's just so important to making them feel part of the school. Because otherwise sometimes they feel separated from the school. And that was something I sort of was very determined to do, and I think did do. But I mean, Westminster is just an extraordinarily exciting school to be at. I mean, because you're a boarding school, semi-boarding school in the middle of London. It's got the great advantage that MPs are only 2 minutes away, and so they're happy to come to John Locke, and pupils feel part of the whole life of the country, because the demonstrations, you can hear people shouting and screaming at the Iraq demonstrations, and I had to prevent myself from going and joining in, but several pupils certainly did go, and I couldn't encourage them and told them they shouldn't be there, but I mean, I think it's very good that they wanted to be there. And yet one is set in these most amazingly quiet and beautiful surroundings of Dean's Yard and Little Dean's Yard, and it's just fantastic. I think the main thing that really excited me, which I think that I started, was the getting pupils parents who couldn't otherwise afford the fees to come to Westminster. And I spent a lot of time initially going around the local primary schools, getting in with the heads there and getting them to believe that their bright children might come to Westminster. And we started off the system, and they came in 2 years at Westminster Under School and then 5 years here, and we were up to, when I left, about 6 or 7 a year coming in. Like, that's not much, but it's very tough to find the money, and I didn't raise the funds. as a fund, because I thought I'd be dead by the time when I managed it. So I went out to individual Westminsters and got them to agree to pay for somebody for 7 years, and we had to get it right. I mean, Michael Davis was very good at helping to find the right pupils, because they've got to be bright, as well as their parents not able to afford the fees. And I think we got it right, or in fact we got it right. We never got it wrong. They were always bright, the ones that we got. And probably about 1 or 2 of the ones that came into Westminster Under School out of the 6 or 7 got Queen scholarships. And so we did get it right. And it was wonderful hearing the ones that, were finishing when I was finishing and things, and that how much they'd enjoyed their time and how much they got out of the place. I do think that's so important that one does that, and that there is more opportunity for pupils who parents can't afford to have really good education.